You don't have a life, you have a feed. Every notification, every plan, every need to be somewhere doing something with someone that is not living, that is being farmed. The most dangerous prison ever built has no walls. It runs on your craving for stimulation. And the terrifying part? You volunteered for it. You walked in, handed over the keys, and called it a personality. Sit alone in a room. No phone, no music, no background noise, nothing. How long before your hands move on their own, searching for something, anything to fill the silence? Most people cannot last 4 minutes. Not because they are weak in the conventional sense, but because they have been conditioned, systematically and deliberately, to interpret silence as a threat. The absence of stimulation feels like dying to them. Drama becomes oxygen. Chaos becomes comfort. They mistake the accelerating heartbeat of endless scrolling for being alive, when in reality, they are simply being consumed. Think about the last time you felt genuinely restless, for no external reason, no crisis, no deadline, just you and the void. That restlessness was not boredom, it was withdrawal. Your nervous system, stripped of its usual supply of dopamine hits, threw a silent tantrum. The masses live their entire existence managing that tantrum, chasing the next source of noise, the next social event, the next manufactured urgency, never once asking who designed the machine that makes them so desperate to keep running. That question is where your power begins. There is a concept the weak will never understand, because understanding it requires them to admit they are being played. It is called weaponized monotony, not routine as a comfort mechanism, not habit as a self-help cliche. Weaponized monotony is the deliberate, ruthless engineering of a life so predictable, so stripped of unnecessary variables, that the outside world loses all leverage over you entirely. It is not peaceful. It is not warm. It is a fortress. And fortresses are not built for comfort. They are built to be impenetrable. Here is the mechanics of how it works and why it works with surgical precision. Every decision you make in a day costs cognitive energy. What to eat, who to respond to, what to wear, whether to attend that event, whether to react to that comment, whether to engage with that drama circling your periphery. Each one of these micro decisions pulls from a finite reservoir. The masses drain that reservoir by noon. They make 1,000 low-stakes choices before they ever face a single high-stakes moment. And when that moment arrives, they are already exhausted. They react instead of act. They capitulate instead of hold the line. They get manipulated, not because they are stupid, but because they are depleted. Weaponized monotony eliminates this entirely. When your mornings are identical, when your meals are fixed, when your movements are pre-decided and non-negotiable, you stop bleeding energy into irrelevance. You arrive at every critical moment with reserves the masses have already squandered on noise. But the deeper function goes beyond decision fatigue. Consider this carefully. Society, the media, the algorithms, the social circles, the manufactured trends, operates by creating uncertainty and then selling you the resolution. It generates anxiety and then provides the stimulation that temporarily quiets it. It is a loop: chaos in, product out, drama in, engagement out. The entire architecture of modern attention is designed to keep you oscillating between tension and release. Never stable, never anchored, always reactive. The man who lives inside that loop is invisible to himself. He is permanently legible to everyone else. They can read his triggers, they can predict his reactions, they can pull his strings because he has never cut them. Weaponized monotony severs those strings. When your internal state stops fluctuating with external conditions, you become unreadable. You become unpredictable to those who feed on predictability in others. Paradoxically, the most predictable man internally is the most unpredictable man externally. because his behavior cannot be engineered by outside forces. That is not a small advantage. That is total psychological sovereignty. Now, make it concrete. Imagine you are at work. There is a colleague, sharp, political, always testing boundaries, always watching for the crack in the armor. He sends you a message on a Friday evening about a project that is not due for 2 weeks, framing it with just enough urgency to pull you into the weekend. Watch how the person who lives on stimulation responds. He checks the message immediately because the silence of not knowing feels worse than the intrusion. He drafts a reply, second guesses it, checks again. He spends Saturday with half his mind still at the office, reactive, occupied, drained. His weekend was successfully colonized. You, operating under weaponized monotony, do not respond. Not because you are playing games, but because your routine has already answered that question. Friday evening is not for work. That boundary is not a decision you make in the moment it was decided weeks ago, carved in stone, non-negotiable. The message sits there. The attempted manipulation finds no surface to grip. You are frictionless to the intrusion. That colleague learns, over time, and without a single confrontation, that you are not available for extraction. The chaos he generates does not reach you. He will move on to easier targets. They always do. This is why the boring life is not a retreat from power, it is the source of it. The man who does the same things every single day, who is rarely seen, rarely surprised, rarely reactive, holds an asymmetric advantage over everyone performing their complexity for an audience. They are spending. You are accumulating. They are broadcasting their internal weather to anyone who glances their way. You reveal nothing. Every time the masses erupt in reaction to the latest provocation, political, social, personal, you observe in silence. You gather information. You refine your position. You do not donate your emotional state to the spectacle. And while they are exhausted from the theater of it all, you are still sharp, still present, still moving. A life of strict repetition is not the absence of power. It is power consolidated into a single, immovable point. And an immovable point cannot be manipulated, cannot be destabilized, and cannot be used against you. Tonight, not tomorrow, not after you think about it, you will identify one specific window in your daily routine that is currently owned by external noise. One slot where your attention is being harvested without your consent. Maybe it is the first 30 minutes after you wake up, handed immediately to a screen. Maybe it is the dead hours between tasks, filled with aimless scrolling that you call relaxing but that leaves you more hollow than before. Pick that window, lock it down, assign it one fixed, non-negotiable function that serves your architecture, not the machine's appetite. Not because it feels good, because sealing that breach is the first act of reclaiming your own perimeter. You are either building the fortress or funding the siege. There is no third option, no comfortable middle ground where you are partially controlled and partially free. Control is binary. You own the territory or you don't. Start with one window. Hold it for 30 days without negotiation. But understand, this sealing the perimeter is only half the equation. What you do with the silence once you have it, how you weaponize the absence of emotion itself, that is a different and more ruthless discipline entirely. One you are not yet prepared for. But it exists.